everyone. This is Wilson Cole, president of Adams, Evans, and Ross and Backdoor Hiring Solutions and managing partner of VLOC Global. And I am joined here with my daughter and I was about to say it's typically attorney and general counsel and lovely daughter. I was about to say daughter and lovely attorney, but I guess it's all the same. Hello, Sam. How are you doing?
It depends on who I'm talking to if they think I'm a lovely attorney.
This is true.
There are some debtors counsel that might have some other names for me.
I was fixing to say, occasionally those debtors counsels will call and complain, but that lets me know that that you probably got the best of. Well, Sam, what I want to talk about in this, we've done the webinar, and I know we're promoting it now on the 5 warning signs. What we're going to talk about today is the third one. And to me, this one is absolutely critical because this one, there is no maybe sort of kind of you have a problem and speed is of the essence. And this is when these accounts start hitting 60 and 90 days past due. At that point, you are now at the tipping point. You're at a 71% shot of still being paid on average. But if you allow it to go literally another 30 to 45 days, the drop-off is shockingly dramatic. So this is when what you're going to see on your end, if you're a client, is you're going to see promises to make payment and it doesn't fail. Now, if somebody is promising to send you a payment, they're not sending it out, I doubt very seriously they're punking you. And they're just telling you whatever. I think they had every intention to get you paid, but what happened at this point is a squeakier wheel got your funds. So if somebody starts telling you they're going to pay and they don't follow through, or if they're promising you $5,000 and then they don't send anything, is much different if they promised you 5 and then they send you 3. This is also when you start hearing big rumblings of bankruptcy or things on those lines, especially if they're a larger company. Some of their credit may just now, if we pull up a credit report, we may start seeing some downturn. Keep in mind, though, on our credit reports, Dun & Bradstreet's, everybody's credit reports aren't what's happening today. It's what happened 45 to 60 days ago. So they're going to be a little dated. Samantha, we had one just recently where there's been rumblings all over the place. Company's going to file bankruptcy. Client sat on it. They sat on it at least 120 days. And kind of explain what just happened this week on that.
I mean, we got the account and within 72 hours, they filed bankruptcy and it's staffing. So there still are some angles that can be followed through on because that some bankruptcy courts deem that payroll. But if it was a recruiting fee, it's done until it works its way through the bankruptcy courts. And I'm going to tell you, bankruptcy courts aren't holding hearings right now. I normally say bankruptcy court's an 18-month process. I'm looking at 3 years on.
No, I was going to say, I think you're 36 to 48 months because not only because people are still having issues, bankruptcies are still getting filed, but what's happening now is the things getting bogged down, and they talk about this is during the time of COVID, and so they talk about the medical system gets overwhelmed, and then you start seeing death rates go up. When the court system gets overwhelmed, you're going to see things just get absolutely clogged. And
I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take to get the clogs out. I think you're going to also see a whole lot of forced mediation on things.
Yeah.
To try to work through it.
And they did do that back in 2008 where, and just so what happens is you wind up suing them. Before it goes to trial, the judges will go ahead and give you an order that you have to meet face to face to go through mediation. Something else that we're going to find, but there again, this is still going to be typically court is a 12-month process. I think just outside of bankruptcy, we're going to probably be looking at 18, maybe in some cases 24 in some venues. What we do find is make sure your documentation is in order because judges, to clear their calendar, will start using default and summary judgments a little bit more aggressively to kind of get the stuff kicked through there. And so that's where we are there. But I cannot stress enough, on this warning sign, your client's now 90 days past due. They're promising to make payments, or they've gone silent.
Or they start promising to make payments significantly down the road.
Yes. And statistically, if somebody's telling you, hey, I'll pay you in 6 months, at that point, you have to do something. Use us, don't use us, doesn't matter. You have to do something.
I did see a promise to pay 36 months from now.
I agree with you on that. And
last week, and I was like, they've got to be out of their mind.
It was.
And I was the unreasonable one for saying that they were out of their mind.
I agree with you. So the only thing I can say is, if you're a staffing firm, be very careful. If you're a recruiting firm, be equally as careful, because what also is going to happen is they're past your guarantee period in most cases at 90 days, but there's no reason to wait past the guarantee period if you have in your agreement that if they don't pay within 30 days, the guarantee is void, because at that point the guarantee is void. So you can go after them. You don't have to wait the 90, 120 days. But just understand, in 30 to 60 days, the recovery prospects get cut in half. And so you are truly at a tipping point. If they're behind with you 90 days, the reason that we collect on past due staffing and recruiting debt is because you're what we refer to as a third tier debt. You're one of the first that do not get paid. If you put them on credit hold, if you're a recruiter, big deal, they'll just use another recruiter. If you're a staffing firm, this is when they start jumping from service to service. But what starts happening now is they start getting 30 to 60 days behind on their main creditors. And once those creditors start, cutting them off, they've lost the ability to function. They may even start running a little behind on rent, in utilities and things on those lines. So you're at a tipping point. You need to move quick. If you use us, great. Certainly love the business, and I know you guys would be pleased with what we could do. But if you've got a local attorney that you're happy with, pick up the phone and have the attorney engage. In this climate, as well as in all climates, always recommend running through collections first before you sue them, because right now, if you sue somebody, it's a 12 to 24 month period. We are still litigating, but the problem for the ones we're having to litigate, we're still going to be at that 12 to 24 month period. The good news is 84% of the ones that come through here, we get collected before we have to litigate. And so that's where you want to go through. Also, we kind of get a snapshot of what that company looks like before suit's filed. Samantha, on this, third, and I don't want to say final warning, but I'm going to say before things just get nasty, any suggestions to them on what they need to do if they see these warning signs?
Trust the rumor wheel. I'm not always the first to say trust everything you hear.
I agree.
But on some of these, you see it coming for a while.
Yes. And one thing that we did with this webinar is we kind of compare it to a hurricane. And for anybody that is on the Gulf Coast or Southern Atlantic coast, a class 1 hurricane, unless you have some flooding issues with some unique land shapes like up in New York with Sandy, a class 1 down on the central Gulf Coast does really very little damage. A class 2 does a little bit of damage, but very little. Once you start getting to Cat 3, you start seeing very centralized catastrophic location. I can remember Samantha went down with me back in 2004 when Ivan hit down on the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, Hugo, you're going way back.
I'm going way back. Ivan hit the northern Gulf Coast, and it was a Cat 3, and it tore that. Now, once you started getting 20 miles offshore or inland, it was less of a problem, but that centralized location was catastrophic for the little town of Gulf Shores. If you have credit extended to one of these companies that see here, it's going to be catastrophic. It may not be widespread where they go out of business, but this is where you need to just make sure that you step into them and you start, at this point, you have to escalate. If you haven't gotten paid at 90, 120 days, you've said pretty much all that you can say to get paid.
And don't think that just because they're a large company, they're going to survive or not use bankruptcy to just restructure it.
Bankruptcy is a tool.
With as many large corporations that have filed bankruptcy through COVID, if you were on any of their mailing lists, go read their emails to their customers.
Yes.
It gives you an insight that this was a tool in the toolbox, not a last resort.
I was going to say, they're not going out of business. What they are doing is they're ejecting all of their debt.
Yes.
They're ejecting their debt. And if you're a recruiter, your debt got ejected. If you're a staffing firm, it's a gray area. Sometimes we've had bankruptcy courts view it as a form of payroll. Others, we've said, no, it's a service. So, there really isn't a consensus on that because we've had such mixed reports. But just be careful. In my opinion, over the next 90 days, this is going to be some of the most dangerous times that the staffing firms have ever seen, especially if the government doesn't inject the volume of cash that they've injected in the past. If they do inject a large amount of cash, then it probably will kick that can down the aisle. But guys, we'll see you next week. We'll go ahead and start breaking down the fourth warning. But this one is, to me, pinnacle. If you don't take a movement here, you definitely put yourself in a weaker position. If anybody needs me, certainly reach out. If you want to see the full webinar, click on the link below and sign up where we go in depth on what you need to do. Sam, thanks for joining me, and we will talk next week.
Thanks. Have a great rest of your day.